I'm Ethan Mitchell, 35, and I never thought my own sister would steal my life's work. Standing at my father's 65th birthday dinner, watching Vanessa raise her glass and claim my $30 million company as her brainchild, I felt my world collapse. 5 years of sleepless nights, rejected loan applications, and missed holidays all stolen in a perfectly delivered toast. I stayed quiet for Dad's sake, smiling through gritted teeth. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, what happened after my sister's speech is something no one in my family saw coming. Growing up, Vanessa and I were your typical siblings, competitive, occasionally supportive, but fundamentally different. 3 years my junior, she possessed a natural charisma that drew people in effortlessly. While I meticulously planned everything, Vanessa floated through life on charm and split-second decisions. Our father Gerald, a successful construction company owner, not so subtly favored her vibrant personality over my calculated approach. "Why can't you be more spontaneous like your sister?" became his unintentional refrain throughout my childhood. My mother Caroline served as the family equalizer. Different strengths for different paths. She'd remind Dad when his comparisons became too obvious. In quiet moments, she'd assure me, "Your persistence will take you further than quick charm ever could." Those words became my mantra during challenging times. After high school, I pursued a business degree with a minor in environmental technology. The combination raised eyebrows, even from my supportive mother. "That's an unusual pairing," she commented when I declared my major. But I had seen something others hadn't, a massive gap in the market for sustainable packaging solutions that actually worked. My senior year project focused on biodegradable packaging materials derived from agricultural waste. Professor Landry, my advisor, encouraged me to patent the initial concept. "This could revolutionize packaging if you can scale it," he said, reviewing my prototype. That single comment planted the seed for what would become Eco-Wrap Industries. After graduation, I spent 6 months refining my business plan. I approached every family member for initial investment, including my father. "It's an interesting concept," he acknowledged during Sunday dinner. "But not concrete enough for my money." Vanessa, fresh from dropping out of her 3rd attempt at college, laughed. "Who's going to pay extra for fancy trash bags?" Those early rejections stung but strengthened my resolve. I moved into a studio apartment in the industrial district where rent was cheaper. Half the space became my living quarters. The other half transformed into a makeshift lab and office. My neighbor Thomas frequently complained about the smell of my experiments. "Whatever you're cooking up better make you rich enough to buy this whole building," he grumbled. I promised him stock options if it ever took off. For 18 months, I approached investors with increasingly refined prototypes. 97 rejections later, Angela Werner from Green Future Capital saw potential in my agricultural waste conversion process. "It's not perfect," she admitted, "but it's solving the right problem." Her $50,000 investment barely covered equipment costs, but validated my vision. The day I secured my first actual client, a local organic grocery chain willing to test my produce bags, I called my family to share the news. Dad seemed genuinely impressed. Mom cried happy tears. Vanessa asked if I was hiring. "I could handle your PR," she suggested. "I know people who know people." When I explained I couldn't afford employees yet, her interest vanished immediately. Those early days tested every limit I had. I survived on ramen and coffee, working 18-hour days. My social life disappeared entirely. Old friends stopped calling after I missed too many gatherings. Dating became non-existent. The closest thing to romance was my brief conversations with Lily, the barista who prepared my daily triple espresso. "You're going to work yourself to death," she warned, noticing the darkening circles under my eyes. She wasn't entirely wrong. Despite the personal sacrifices, seeing my first production run of truly biodegradable shipping materials emerge from the small manufacturing facility I'd leased made everything worthwhile. Holding the finished product, packaging that would break down completely within months rather than centuries. I knew I was building something that mattered. My daily routine during those growth years bordered on monastic dedication. I woke at 4:30 a.m. to review international supplier emails before handling domestic operations from 7 a.m. until often past midnight. Weekends weren't for rest but for catching up on administrative tasks I couldn't address during the week. The concept of work-life balance existed only in the articles I occasionally skimmed while waiting for manufacturing equipment to be calibrated. The breakthrough partnership with Maxwell Industries came through persistence bordering on stubbornness. After their purchasing director Bennett Maxwell rejected my initial pitch, I spent 3 months improving our formula specifically to address his concerns about durability. Rather than email the new specifications, I waited outside their corporate headquarters with samples. "You're either incredibly dedicated or slightly unhinged," Bennett remarked when security finally allowed me into the lobby. "Either way, I respect it enough to give you 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes turned into a 3-hour meeting and a $250,000 initial order. The second major partnership with Brennan Corporation happened differently. Their sustainability director Jessica Brennan approached us after seeing our products at an industry conference. "We've tested every green packaging option on the market," she explained during our first meeting. "Yours is the only one that actually delivers on its promises." The resulting contract doubled our production requirements overnight. Expanding meant hiring my first real team members. Sebastian Rivera joined as our technical director after leaving a prestigious position at a major chemical company. "I'm tired of making incremental improvements to bad processes," he explained when I asked why he'd accept a significant pay cut. "You're reinventing the fundamentals." Olivia Chong came on as our marketing specialist, bringing experience from top-tier agencies. "Green tech is the future," she said simply. "And you're actually doing it right. Our proprietary technology, a method of restructuring agricultural cellulose waste into polymer-like compounds without synthetic additives, became our competitive advantage. While competitors offered biodegradable products that merely broke down into microplastics, our materials returned fully to soil within 180 days. The patent alone was eventually valued at $8 million. Success didn't come without crises. Twice we nearly went bankrupt, first when our main equipment suppliers suddenly doubled prices, forcing us to scramble for alternatives, and again when a competitor filed a frivolous patent infringement claim that drained our legal budget. During the second crisis, I didn't draw a salary for 7 months, returning to my ramen diet and sleeping on the office couch to save rent money. The government contract that saved us came through Sebastian's previous connections. The Department of Agriculture was seeking sustainable packaging solutions for their nationwide school lunch program. Our presentation to their procurement team ran long when the director kept asking additional questions. "Usually that means rejection," Sebastian whispered as we packed up. We received the acceptance email before reaching the parking lot. The $1.2 million contract provided the stability we desperately needed. Moving into our first real office space marked a psychological milestone. After signing the lease on the renovated warehouse space, I stood alone in the empty building, remembering the studio apartment where it all began. The moment felt significant enough that I called my parents to share it. Dad asked about square footage and lease terms. Mom promised decorative plants. Vanessa wanted to know if we had an event space she could use for her friend's art show. As our team grew to 15 people, I worked to create the company culture I'd always wanted to experience: transparent, collaborative, and purpose-driven. We instituted weekly all-hands meetings where financial numbers were openly shared. Profit sharing started with the very first profitable quarter. When we retrofitted the office, we added a rooftop garden that supplied our lunch program. These weren't frivolous perks but embodiments of our values. Hitting $1 million in annual revenue came faster than expected. I'd projected 3 more years, but our governmental contracts and expanding retail partnerships accelerated growth. The day our accountant Ronald confirmed the milestone, the entire team celebrated with locally sourced organic champagne. I sent my parents a bottle of the same champagne with a note saying simply, "We did it." Throughout this growth period, my personal life remained almost non-existent. I missed cousins' weddings, friends' baby showers, and even my own 10-year college reunion. Dating attempts fizzled when potential partners realized they'd always come second to the business. My apartment, which I rarely saw before midnight, contained little beyond a bed and basic necessities. "You need a life outside these walls," Olivia frequently reminded me. I always promised to work on it. After the next big deadline, Vanessa's engagement with the company followed a predictable pattern. She appeared when success made headlines and disappeared during struggles. After we won the Regional Sustainability Award, she attended the ceremony uninvited, somehow managing to get into the group photos with our team. "Supporting my brother's vision," she captioned the image on her social media. When I asked if she wanted to learn about what we actually did, her eyes glazed over. "I'm more of a big-picture person," she explained before asking if she could bring friends to tour our factory. Sunday family dinners became a weekly status report on EcoWrap's progress. What started as genuine interest from my parents evolved into a ritualistic interrogation. "So what major deals did you close this week?" Dad would ask before I'd even filled my plate. Mom tried maintaining balance. "Let's hear about Vanessa's week first," though her adventures in freelance event planning rarely changed the trajectory of conversations. As industry publications began featuring our innovations and local business journals included me in their 30 under 40 lists, I noticed Vanessa's questions sharpening. Her usual disinterest transformed into pointed inquiries about client names, revenue figures, and expansion plans. "Just trying to understand my brother's world," she'd explain when I hesitated to share confidential information at the dinner table. My father's pride manifested as possessiveness. "When are you bringing the family into the business?" became his recurring question. He'd built his construction company with his brothers and couldn't comprehend my reluctance to involve relatives. "Blood is the only loyalty you can trust," he insisted, despite the irony that his own brothers had ultimately bought him out after disagreements. Mom pulled me aside after one particularly tense dinner. "Keep your business and family separate," she warned, washing dishes while Dad and Vanessa argued about politics in the living room. "Your father means well, but mixing family and money changed him." I'd seen the evidence in the strain between Dad and his brothers, who now only exchanged Christmas cards despite living 20 minutes apart. Despite my reservations, I attempted involving Vanessa in small projects when she expressed interest. I offered her a chance to organize our company's booth at the Sustainable Business Expo. She enthusiastically accepted, then delivered half-finished plans 3 days before the event, forcing our team to work overnight creating materials she'd promised to handle. "Emergency came up," was her only explanation. Similar scenarios played out with the client appreciation event she abandoned mid-planning and the supplier dinner she forgot to book reservations for. The most telling incident occurred during a family barbecue when Dad's business associates were present. As I described our new manufacturing process to interested guests, Vanessa interjected. "Actually, I suggested that approach to Ethan months ago." The seamless confidence with which she claimed my innovation, one I'd spent 18 months developing with Sebastian, left me momentarily speechless. Later, when I confronted her privately, she shrugged it off. "I was just trying to be part of the conversation. It's not like these people matter to your business." But people did start mattering as our company valuation climbed. The regional business journals feature on companies transforming the packaging industry put our estimated worth at $15 million. Television segments on eco-friendly businesses included tours of our facility. Local entrepreneurs began asking me to speak at their events. With each public achievement, Vanessa's attention intensified. Her first direct request came casually over coffee. "I've been thinking about joining EcoWrap officially," she announced, stirring her latte. "Chief Brand Officer has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" When I asked about her qualifications for an executive role, she seemed genuinely confused. "I'm your sister. Plus, I've been watching you build this for years. I practically know the business inside out." I countered with a legitimate offer, an entry-level marketing position with proper training and performance expectations. You'd report to Olivia initially, but with your communication skills you could advance quickly, I explained. The suggestion that she would report to anyone, much less work her way up, ended the conversation. Never mind. I was just trying to help you out, she said, gathering her things. You clearly don't need family support. The Cold War that followed made family gatherings uncomfortable. Vanessa would ask pointed questions about competitors she'd researched, suggesting their approaches might be superior. She'd forward me articles about family businesses with success stories, always highlighting nepotistic appointments. Dad, sensing the tension but misinterpreting its source, repeatedly encouraged me to make peace by finding a role for her. Meanwhile, EcoWrap secured international distribution deals with European retail chains committed to eliminating plastic packaging. Our manufacturing facility expanded to a second location. The valuation consultants adjusted their estimates to $30 million as acquisition offers began arriving from larger corporations. Success should have felt sweeter, but the growing family tension cast a shadow over professional achievements. Dad's 65th birthday celebration took months of planning. Mom insisted on the Riverside Terrace, an upscale restaurant overlooking the city's waterfront, despite the considerable expense. Your father only turned 65 once, she reminded me when I suggested more moderate venues. The private room she reserved featured floor-to-ceiling windows capturing the sunset over the harbor, Dad's favorite view in our city. The guest list included immediate family plus Uncle Mitchell and Aunt Linda from Dad's side, along with close friends from his industry days. I'd arranged for his oldest friend Harold to fly in from Arizona as a surprise. Mom handled decorations and the custom photo montage. Vanessa volunteered to coordinate entertainment, ultimately booking a jazz quartet that played Dad's favorite standards from the 60s. My gift required careful preparation, a custom-bound history of Dad's construction company, featuring interviews with former employees, archival photographs, and a detailed timeline of his career achievements. I'd worked with a professional historian for 6 months compiling the material. The leather-bound volume represented not just his professional legacy but my acknowledgement of his influence on my own entrepreneurial path. The evening began perfectly. Dad's genuine surprise at seeing Harold set a warm tone for the celebration. The appetizers, classic shrimp cocktail and stuffed mushrooms that reminded Dad of his first date with Mom, received enthusiastic approval. The jazz quartet played at just the right volume to allow conversation while creating ambience. Everything aligned for the meaningful celebration my father deserved. When dinner service concluded and dessert was being prepared, Mom nodded at me, our prearranged signal for speech time. But before I could stand, Vanessa tapped her glass with a spoon. Before my brother gives what I'm sure will be a very practical and organized toast, she announced with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, I'd like to say a few words about our dad. Her speech began beautifully, recounting childhood memories that brought tears to Dad's eyes. She mentioned fishing trips where he taught us patience, workshop sessions where he showed us craftsmanship, and life lessons about integrity that had shaped our values. The family nodded along, including me, appreciating her eloquence in capturing our shared history. Then her narrative shifted subtly. Dad taught us that family supports family, that we rise together, she continued, her voice taking on a performative quality I recognized from her brief theater phase. That's why when Ethan and I started developing the concept for what would become EcoWrap, Dad's influence was central to our thinking. The possessive plural, Ethan and I, created an almost imperceptible ripple around the table. Uncle Mitchell glanced at me with raised eyebrows. I maintained a neutral expression, thinking she would correct herself or clarify. Instead, she leaned further into the fabrication. Those early days brainstorming in Ethan's apartment were challenging, she continued, describing meetings that never happened and contributions she'd never made. While Ethan handled the technical aspects, I focused on the business model and strategic partnerships. Her reimagined history now placed her at pivotal moments I'd experienced alone or with Sebastian and Olivia. The room's atmosphere shifted as Vanessa methodically constructed an alternate reality where she had been the visionary partner all along. When I connected Ethan with the Brennan Corporation executives at that charity gala, she claimed confidently, though she'd never attended the industry conference where we'd actually met, I knew we'd finally broken through. I watched family members' expressions transform from mild confusion to impressed understanding. Uncle Mitchell nodded appreciatively. Aunt Linda whispered something to her husband. Dad's chest literally puffed with pride as he looked between us, clearly enchanted by this vision of his children building something together. The $30 million valuation the company received last month validates what we've built together, Vanessa concluded, raising her glass. To Dad, whose example of family partnership inspired the success we share today. As glasses raised around the table, I felt a cold numbness spreading through my chest. 5 years of 16-hour days, mortgage-level personal debt, and complete personal sacrifice erased in a 10-minute speech. The innovation that had literally begun as my college project now positioned as a joint venture. In the reflection of the window beside me, I could see my knuckles whitening around my water glass. Across the table, I caught Sebastian's eyes widening in disbelief. He and Olivia had come as my guests, having become almost family after years in the trenches together. Olivia's slight head shake communicated a clear message. This isn't right. But contradicting Vanessa would mean disrupting Dad's perfect evening, turning his celebration into a family dispute. To Dad, I echoed, raising my glass while maintaining what I hoped was an unreadable expression. The moment demanded either immediate confrontation or strategic patience. For my father's sake, I chose the latter. When the jazz quartet resumed playing, I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment alone. In the pristine privacy of the marble-tiled space, I gripped the sink edge until my fingers ached, staring at my reflection. Not here. Not now, I repeated silently, trying to regulate my breathing. The betrayal wasn't just about credit, it was about the systematic erasure of my journey, the revisionist history that cheapened every sacrifice. Returning to the party, I managed what felt like a reasonable facsimile of enjoyment. I delivered my prepared toast, focusing entirely on Dad rather than the business. I smiled for photographs. I answered guests' questions about your and Vanessa's company, with non-committal responses. Throughout it all, Sebastian and Olivia flanked me like protective sentinels, occasionally squeezing my shoulder in silent support. As the evening concluded and guests departed, Vanessa accepted congratulations on your entrepreneurial success from Dad's friends with practiced humility. It's truly been a team effort, she assured them, somehow managing to look directly at me while saying it. The calculated audacity of the performance almost impressed me in its brazenness. Dad hugged us both goodbye with tears in his eyes. My 2 brilliant kids, he said proudly. Building something together just like I always hoped. The genuine joy in his expression cemented my decision not to confront the situation that night. His happiness, at least, was real, even if it was built on a foundation of elaborate fiction. The week following Dad's party passed in a fog of contained fury and strategic planning. Each morning brought new examples of Vanessa's escalating deception. Colleagues mentioned LinkedIn notifications showing she'd updated her profile to include co-founder, EcoWrap Industries. Industry contacts emailed asking about your sister's presentation at networking events I hadn't attended. A local business publication even reached out requesting a joint interview about our sibling partnership success story. Marcus, my closest friend since college and one of the few people I'd maintained contact with throughout the business building years, provided necessary perspective over late-night drinks. You need to address this immediately, he advised, his background as a corporate attorney bringing valuable insight. Every day you don't correct the record is a day this narrative solidifies. The situation escalated when Sebastian reported concerning conversations from our quarterly board meeting. 2 investors asked about Vanessa's official role. He explained, clearly uncomfortable. They'd met her at the Chamber of Commerce dinner where she apparently introduced herself as our Chief Strategy Officer. This crossed from personal betrayal into potential securities fraud. Misrepresenting company leadership to investors carried serious legal implications. Working with Sebastian and our legal counsel Rebecca Thompson, I developed a comprehensive response plan. The approach needed to balance family considerations with business integrity while preventing further damage. Document everything first, Rebecca advised during our closed-door session. Then decide how publicly to address the misrepresentations. Our team discreetly investigated the extent of Vanessa's claims. What emerged was a pattern more extensive than I'd imagined. She'd approached at least 3 major potential clients claiming executive authority. She'd attended industry networking events using business cards with an eco-wrap logo and executive director, title we'd never authorized. Most alarmingly, she'd had preliminary discussions with venture capital firms about her company's funding needs. The personal dimension grew more complex when Mom requested a private lunch. Choosing a quiet cafe away from our usual family spots, she revealed context I hadn't known. Vanessa's in financial trouble, she explained, stirring her tea with uncharacteristic nervousness. She lost her apartment last month after missing payments. She's been staying with friends, bouncing between couches. This information added a layer of desperation to Vanessa's actions but didn't excuse them. Has she asked you and Dad for help? I questioned, trying to understand the full picture. Your father offered, Mom admitted. She refused, saying she had big opportunities coming through. Now I understand what she meant. The sadness in her eyes reflected the complexity of the situation. One child in genuine crisis, another being victimized by that crisis. The ethical dilemma kept me awake for 3 consecutive nights. Family loyalty had been ingrained since childhood. Dad's mantra, "Mitchells stick together," echoed through years of family dinners. But this situation transcended simple sibling rivalry. Employees' livelihoods, investor relationships, and the company's reputation all hung in the balance. Sebastian helped compile a comprehensive timeline of the company's development, complete with dated prototypes, lab notebooks, incorporation documents, and early pitch decks, all predating Vanessa's claimed involvement. Olivia gathered media appearances and interviews where I'd discussed the solo journey of founding the company. Rebecca prepared cease and desist documentation if needed, though we all hoped such measures wouldn't be necessary. The upcoming Regional Business Innovation Awards provided both opportunity and challenge. EcoWrap had been nominated for Breakthrough Sustainability Enterprise, our most significant industry recognition to date. The entire team would attend, including board members and key investors. The event would certainly attract local business press. If Vanessa appeared claiming her fabricated role, the situation would require immediate resolution. As the awards approached, physical symptoms of stress manifested. Insomnia became chronic, tension headaches constant. My usual workout routine abandoned, I lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. Questions I'd never considered now dominated my thoughts. Could the family survive this confrontation? Would Dad ever forgive me for publicly contradicting the partnership narrative he'd embraced? Was business integrity worth the potential permanent fracture of family relationships? The pivotal decision point arrived unexpectedly. 3 days before the awards ceremony, Vanessa texted requesting prep time to coordinate our acceptance speech. Not if we win, but our speech. The presumption crystallized everything. Family loyalty mattered deeply, but not at the expense of truth, especially when that truth represented the work of dozens of dedicated people beyond myself. That evening, I called Sebastian and Olivia to finalize our approach. We stand for integrity or we stand for nothing, Sebastian reminded me, his usually quiet demeanor strengthened by conviction. Olivia added the perspective I needed. This isn't just about you or Vanessa anymore. It's about every person who believed in this company enough to join us. With their support, the path forward clarified. The confrontation would happen, but on my terms, factual, measured, and focused on correction rather than punishment. The company I'd built would reflect my values, even in this most difficult moment. The Regional Business Innovation Awards transformed the convention center ballroom into a showcase of sustainable luxury. Living plant walls surrounded recycled glass tables. Biodegradable silk banners highlighted each nominated company. The 500-person guest list included every significant name in our industry sector, from venture capitalists to sustainability journalists. Under different circumstances, I would have appreciated the validation of being included among such company. Our team arrived early for the pre-event networking reception. Sebastian, Olivia, and our core leadership group created a supportive perimeter as industry colleagues approached with congratulations and questions. I had just finished discussing potential collaboration with the CEO of GreenStack Solutions when a familiar laugh cut through the ambient conversation. Vanessa had arrived, wearing a professional outfit I'd never seen, hair and makeup impeccably done. More surprisingly, she'd brought Dad and Mom as her guests, though I'd already arranged their tickets at our company table. She moved through the crowd with practiced ease, introducing herself to key industry figures. "Ethan and I are so honored by the nomination," I overheard her telling the awards committee chairperson. Before I could intercept this conversation, I noticed additional unexpected guests at the registration table. Uncle Mitchell and Aunt Linda were checking in. The family attendance now resembled a coordinated showing rather than supportive presence. Dad caught my eye across the room, giving a thumbs up and proud nod that twisted something in my chest. His genuine happiness at seeing his kids succeeding together made what would follow even more difficult. During the seated dinner portion, Vanessa somehow arranged to sit between me and our lead investor Jonathan Blackwell. Her practiced questions about our latest production metrics and references to when we first conceptualized the cellulose extraction method created visible confusion among team members. Sebastian's wife Patricia whispered to him with raised eyebrows. Olivia's husband Daniel shot questioning glances my way. "I didn't realize your sister was involved in the technical development," Jonathan commented quietly as servers cleared the main course plates. "Her understanding of the process seems remarkably detailed. There's a lot about our company structure that might surprise you," I replied neutrally, noticing Vanessa's slight smile at my deliberate ambiguity. The awards presentation began with sustainability categories for architecture, transportation, and consumer products before reaching our segment. The introduction video for EcoWrap featured footage from our production facility and laboratory, with brief interview clips where I explained our technology. As applause followed the video's conclusion, I felt Vanessa shift forward in her seat, physically preparing to stand. "And the award for Breakthrough Sustainability Enterprise goes to EcoWrap Industries." Camera flashes erupted as our table erupted in cheers. Sebastian and Olivia immediately stood, creating a protective formation around me as we moved toward the stage. I noticed with peripheral vision that Vanessa had also risen and was attempting to join our procession. Dad, beaming with pride, nudged Mom to watch the kids accept together. Reaching the podium first, I accepted the hand-blown glass trophy from the presenter. As expected, Vanessa managed to position herself beside me, smiling for the cameras and reaching to touch the award. The moment had arrived more dramatically than I'd anticipated, but with perfect clarity of purpose. "Thank you for this tremendous recognition," I began, gently establishing primary position at the microphone. The journey to this moment began in a university laboratory and a studio apartment that doubled as our first production facility. I paused deliberately, making eye contact with various team members in the audience. Success like this is never the work of a single person, which is why I want to acknowledge the actual team that built EcoWrap from concept to reality. The subtle emphasis on actual created a ripple of attentiveness in the room. Vanessa's smile faltered slightly, though she maintained her position beside me. "Sebastian Rivera, please stand," I continued. "Our technical director who refined our core technology through 18 iterations over 3 years." Sebastian stood, receiving a round of applause. "Olivia Chang, our marketing director who believed in sustainability before it was marketable and created our brand identity from scratch." Olivia rose, nodding graciously. One by one, I acknowledged every significant contributor, Ronald in accounting who worked without salary during our near bankruptcy, Patricia in production who solved our scaling challenges, Daniel in logistics who created our carbon-neutral shipping program. With each name and contribution, the narrative of EcoWrap's development became clearer, the timeline more specific, and Vanessa's fabricated role more obviously absent. "We've prepared a brief video showcasing our company's evolution," I announced, nodding to the technician. The 3-minute montage we'd hastily assembled featured dated footage from each stage of development. My solo presentations at early pitch competitions, the original 2-person team moving into our first facility, key milestone celebrations where team composition was clearly documented. The visual evidence spoke volumes without direct accusation. As the video concluded, I returned to the microphone. "Innovation requires both vision and perseverance. At EcoWrap, we believe that integrity in our materials must be matched by integrity in our business practices and relationships." The statement operated on multiple levels, drawing knowing nods from industry colleagues while sending a clear message to those familiar with recent events. Throughout this carefully orchestrated presentation, I never directly contradicted Vanessa's claims or mentioned the misrepresentations. The factual timeline and proper acknowledgments accomplished this without explicit confrontation. When I concluded my acceptance speech, the audience's enthusiastic response confirmed they understood the underlying message. Vanessa attempted damage control immediately, intercepting well-wishers with practiced deflection. We divide responsibilities so clearly that sometimes people don't see how integrated our leadership really is, she explained to confused industry contacts. I focus on the big picture strategy while Ethan handles the day-to-day operations. The explanation might have worked if Sebastian and Olivia hadn't been within earshot, their expressions clearly communicating the falsehood. The inevitable private confrontation occurred in the venue's side garden where I'd stepped out for fresh air. Vanessa followed, her composed facade cracking slightly. "You deliberately undermined me in there," she accused, voice tight with anger and embarrassment. "I simply acknowledged the actual history and contributors," I corrected calmly. "Something you've been systematically misrepresenting." "I was trying to help you," she insisted, volume rising. "Do you think these stuffy industry people care about some guy working alone in a lab? They love the family business narrative. I was creating a better story for both of us, at the expense of truth and everyone who actually built this company," I replied. "You can't rewrite history because it makes a better story, Vanessa." Our increasingly heated exchange drew attention from nearby guests, including, unfortunately, Dad. He approached slowly, confusion evident as fragments of our argument reached him. "What's happening here?" he asked, looking between us with growing concern. "I thought tonight was about celebrating your success together." "There is no together, Dad," I stated finally, the words hanging heavily between us. "Vanessa has never worked for EcoWrap. She's never contributed to its development. Every claim she's made about co-founding or running the company is completely fabricated." The color drained from Dad's face as he processed this information. He turned to Vanessa, perhaps expecting immediate denial. Instead, her expression crumpled under the direct confrontation. "I was going to earn it retroactively," she offered weakly. "Once I had a position, I would have worked twice as hard to justify the story. I just needed a foot in the door." The uncomfortable silence that followed was broken by Mom's arrival. Having observed from a distance, she'd chosen to intervene before the situation deteriorated further. "Let's continue this conversation somewhere private," she suggested firmly, guiding us toward an empty conference room off the main hall. Within that private space, the full truth emerged. Vanessa had accumulated nearly $200,000 in debt from failed business ventures and luxury living beyond her means. Creditors were threatening legal action. Her increasingly desperate situation had driven increasingly desperate measures. The fabricated executive role represented potential salary, status, and solution to her financial problems. "Why didn't you come to us?" Dad asked, genuine hurt replacing his initial anger. "We would have helped you find legitimate solutions. Because I'm tired of being the family failure while Ethan becomes the golden child," she admitted, years of resentment finally surfacing. He builds a multi-million-dollar company while I can't even keep an apartment. I just wanted to be successful too. The raw honesty shifted the emotional dynamic from anger to complex sadness. The situation wasn't resolved that night. Deep-seated family patterns and financial realities couldn't be addressed in a single conversation. But the foundation for honest resolution had been established. As we prepared to return to the main event, I made one thing clear. I need you to stop all misrepresentation immediately. No more claims about involvement with EcoRap, no more business cards, no more investor meetings. We'll figure out legitimate ways to help you, but this deception ends tonight. The family left shortly afterward, Mom guiding a subdued Dad and tearful Vanessa toward the parking area. I returned to my team and the industry recognition we'd earned honestly, carrying both relief that the truth had emerged and uncertainty about what this meant for our family's future. 1 week after the awards ceremony, Mom organized what she called a family reset meeting at their home. The formal designation signaled the importance of the conversation we needed to have. Dad's usual armchair remained his command post, though his typically authoritative posture had softened. Mom positioned herself on the sofa between where Vanessa and I would sit, still the mediator after all these years. We need to address what happened and find a way forward that respects everyone. Mom began when we'd settled. No interruptions, no storming out, just honest conversation. Her teacher voice brought immediate compliance from all of us, regardless of age. Dad spoke first, surprising me with his self-reflection. I've been thinking about my role in all this, he admitted, fingers interlaced tightly. I've spent years comparing you two, always pushing for you to work together without considering your different paths. He looked at me directly. I wanted you to recreate my business experience with my brothers, even though that ultimately failed. I realized now I was trying to rewrite my own story through you. His acknowledgement of this pattern lifted a weight I hadn't fully recognized. The permission to be different, to succeed differently, was something I'd sought without naming it. Vanessa's turn brought difficult admissions. She detailed her financial situation with brutal honesty, the failed business attempts, the credit card debt, the loans from friends she couldn't repay. I watched Ethan succeed while I kept failing, she explained, voice steady despite evident embarrassment. It seemed easier to claim part of his success than to build my own. When my turn came, I acknowledged my own contributions to the dynamic. I've been so focused on the business that I've been absent from the family, I admitted. And I've probably enjoyed proving everyone wrong about my impractical ideas. That created distance I didn't try to bridge. The initial conversation lasted hours, painful but necessary. By evening, we'd established new boundaries and expectations. Dad would stop pressuring us to replicate his business model. Vanessa would take responsibility for her finances with professional help. I would maintain clearer separation between business and family relationships. The most challenging discussion concerned Vanessa's professional future. After considerable thought, I offered her a legitimate pathway into EcoRap, starting in an entry-level customer service position, with standard performance expectations and professional development opportunities. No special treatment, no executive fast track, I clarified. But a stable job with growth potential if you earn it. Her initial reaction was predictably negative. Customer service? With my communication skills and industry connections? The entitled response highlighted exactly why the offer was structured as it was. Those are the terms, I maintained calmly. You'll learn our business properly from the ground up, establish credibility with the team, and create your own legitimate success story. Or you can decline and we'll help you explore other options. After 3 days of consideration and several conversations with Mom, Vanessa accepted the position. Her first day began with a company-wide email I'd carefully crafted, introducing her as a new team member without reference to family connection. Sebastian and Olivia, informed of the arrangement in advance, modeled professional treatment that others followed. To protect against future complications, I implemented formal family business protocols with board approval. A comprehensive nepotism policy established clear reporting structures preventing direct supervision of relatives. Transparency requirements mandated disclosure of family relationships to investors and key clients. These measures weren't just about Vanessa, they created healthy boundaries for any future family involvement. My own healing process required professional support. Weekly sessions with Dr. Harrison helped me process the betrayal and establish healthier family engagement patterns. "You're unlearning generations of family business entanglement," she observed during our third session. "That's profound work that extends beyond this specific situation." Gradually, family gatherings resumed, though with noticeably different dynamics. Sunday dinners focused less on business updates and more on personal well-being. Dad asked about weekend plans rather than quarterly projections. Mom seemed relieved by the shift, commenting that we finally sounded like a family instead of a board meeting. Vanessa's integration into EcoRap proceeded with surprising developments. After initial resistance, she discovered genuine interest in customer feedback patterns. Her first quarterly review reflected both strengths and growth areas. When she earned her first performance-based bonus, her pride was palpable. "This feels different," she admitted over coffee. "Like I actually deserve it." The unexpected benefit of her legitimate involvement was her genuine talent for translating customer needs into product improvements. 6 months into her role, she identified a pattern in restaurant client feedback that led to an important packaging modification. The feature enhancement increased sales in that sector by 22%. A contribution she could rightfully claim as her own. A year after the confrontation, our family dynamic had transformed. Dad's retirement from his construction business removed the constant comparison to his entrepreneurial experience. Mom pursued her delayed passion for landscape painting. Vanessa, now in a junior product development role she'd earned through legitimate promotion, had restructured her debt with professional guidance and maintained an apartment independently. The most meaningful change emerged during Dad's 66th birthday, a much smaller celebration at their home. As we gathered around the dining table, Vanessa raised her glass. "To being proud of our own achievements," she offered as a toast, "and supporting each other's different journeys." The simple sentiment reflected genuine growth, acknowledged our separate paths, and established a foundation for authentic family connection. For me, the greatest lesson emerged through this painful experience: success built on deception inevitably collapses, while achievement founded on integrity creates lasting value. The company continued its growth trajectory, eventually expanding internationally with our second manufacturing facility opening in Europe. The team culture of transparency and ethical leadership attracted top talent and loyal clients who shared our values. Building something worthwhile requires not just vision and persistence but the courage to protect its integrity, even when that means difficult conversations with those closest to you. Family relationships matter deeply, but they function best when built on truth rather than comfortable fictions. Have you ever had to stand up for the truth when it would have been easier to stay quiet? Drop a comment below sharing your experience with family business dynamics or times when you've had to choose integrity over comfort. Your story might help someone facing a similar challenge right now. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences about building success the right way. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that standing in their truth is always worth it, even when it's difficult. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, the businesses and relationships that last are always built on a foundation of honesty.